Hello grade 9 students! Sa video ito, ituturo ko sa inyo ang tungkol sa modeling, representing, and transforming quadratic function na makikita nyo sa inyong module week 7. Ang konsepto ng quadratic function ay napakahalaga sa ating buhay kung malalaman lang natin ang tungkol dito. So, saan ba natin nagkagamit at makikita ang quadratic function? What is quadratic function? Ano nga ba ang quadratic function? It is a second-degree polynomial represented as f of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, or instead of f of x, we can use y. Y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are real numbers. Those are a, b, and c. Ano nga ba ang parabola? So, it is a graph of a quadratic function. So, ang tawag sa graph ng quadratic function ay parabola. Kagaya po ng nasa litrato. So, this is the graph which is called parabola. When we say parabola, it is a plane curve which is mirror, symmetrical, and approximately U-shaped. It has different properties including vertex. When we say vertex, it is the turning point. Ito yung point kung saan lumiko ang ating graph. It can be the lowest point or the highest point of the graph. But in this figure, kung makikita nyo po sa ating graph, naka-opens upward siya. Kaya, ang ating pong vertex, it is in the lowest point or the minimum point. It also have the axis of symmetry. So, the axis of symmetry is the imaginary line that is drawn a line through the vertex or in the middle of the graph. Axis of symmetry is a line which divides the graph into parts such that the half of the graph is reflection of the other half. So, this half is also the reflection of the other half. And we also have the opening of the parabola. So, this is the opening of the parabola where our parabola opens. So, if you can see, it is opens upward, going up. It's going up. And the intercepts, we have the x-intercepts. Those are the points that is lying on the x-axis that is touches by our parabola. Or ito yung point na makikita natin sa x-axis na kasama sa ating parabola. Meron din naman tayong tinatawag na y-intercept. Ang y-intercept is the point lies on the y-axis which is included to our parabola. Ito po ang ating y-intercept. Now, let's proceed to page 26 in your module. So, that is your learning task 1 for week 7. So, you need to tell whether each picture models a quadratic function or not. Then, you're going to justify your answer. So, you have given there 3 situations that you're going to identify if it is quadratic or not. Then, you are going to answer why. So, I will give you an example in this side. So, I have here the first picture. The answer here is a quadratic function. Why? Because there is a parabolic curve at the base of the tower. Kung mapapansin nyo, meron tayong parabolic curve dito sa base ng tower. Now, let's proceed to the next picture, which is the banana. So, if you notice, our banana looks like letter U. And that means it is a quadratic function. Why? Because the shape of banana has a parabolic curve. as you can see in the picture. And that's what you call quadratic function. Now, how about this one? When the player hits the ball, so this is a quadratic function also because the ball created a parabolic curve motion when hit by the player. It creates a parabolic curve. Kaya siya ay quadratic function. So ngayon, sana makatulong ang aking example para masagutan nyo ang inyong learning task 1 in this side. Now let's proceed to learning task 2, which can be found in your module page 28. Which of the following represents a quadratic function? So you have given 6 questions there that you're going to answer. So you're going to write here. Susulat niyo po dito kung ito po ba ay quadratic function or not quadratic function. So para masagutan niyo po ito, tutulungan ko kayo sa pamamagitan ng aking examples.
Now let's have example in learning task 2. Which of the following represent a quadratic function? So number 1, we have y is equal to x squared plus 2. So pag sinabi natin quadratic function, dapat ang highest degree niya or ang highest exponent ng ating variable ay 2. So let's check. So since the highest degree of this function is 2, therefore this is a quadratic function. So let's have another example. Number 2, y is equal to 7x plus 12. So actually, x has exponent of 1, but this is imaginary. We're not writing it. So, ang hinahanap natin ay yung merong exponent na 2 para siya maging quadratic function. Since wala tayong nakikitang exponent na 2, therefore, this is not a quadratic function. Let's have example number 3. We have given f of x. F of x is also the same as y. Or function of x is equal to quantity x minus 2 times x plus 3 times x squared. So since the equation is not yet simplified, so let's simplify it first para ma-identify natin kung quadratic function ba siya or hindi. So using the FOIL method, so let's multiply the first term, which is x and x times x, it will give us x squared. And x times positive 3 is equal to 3x. Now, let's proceed to negative 2. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times positive 3 is negative 6 times x squared. Now, let's combine the like terms. So, since x squared doesn't have any like terms, so let's copy it. We have x squared. Positive 3x minus 2x is equal to positive x or 1x. Then, copy negative 6 times x squared. So let's simplify. So distributive property of multiplication, let's multiply x squared to x squared plus x minus 6. X squared times x squared is equal to x to the 4th power. Then x squared times positive x, it will give us positive x cubed. X squared times negative 6, it will give us negative 6x squared. Therefore, our equation is already in the 4th degree. Kasi ang pinakamalaking exponent niya is 4. But we are looking for the highest degree of 2. So since this is not, therefore, this is not a quadratic function. Ngayon naman, paano natin malalaman kung ito ba ay quadratic function or not? So we have given the table wherein we have the coordinates of x and coordinates of y. So there's a way to know if this is a quadratic function. So we have the first differences and the second differences. Pag pare-parehas ang first differences ng ating y coordinates or y coordinates, ibig sabihin, this is not a quadratic function. Pero, pagka nagkapare-parehas lang sila sa second differences, that is the time na quadratic function sila. So, let's try. We have 5 minus 0 is equal to 5. 0 minus negative 3 is positive 3. Negative 3 minus negative 4 is positive 1. Negative 4 minus negative 3 is negative 1. Negative 3 minus 0 is negative 3. 0 minus 5 is negative 5. So if you notice, the first differences are not equal. So let's proceed to the second differences. Pag nagka-pare-pareha sila ng second differences, therefore, we can already identify that these values of x and y are quadratic function. So let's subtract 5 minus 3 is equal to 2. 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. 1 minus negative 1 is positive 2. Negative 1 minus negative 3 is positive 2. Negative 3 minus negative 5 is positive 2. So if you notice, equal ang kanilang second differences. Therefore, this function is a quadratic function. So let's have another example. Now let's have example number 5. So we have given the table which have the x is equal to negative 3 and y is equal to negative 6, x is equal to negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3, and y is equal to 6, 8, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So para malaman natin kung this is a quadratic function, so we need to find the differences of the values of y. So let's find out if this is equal. So we have 20 minus 18, it will give us 2. 18 minus 16 is equal to 2. 16 minus 14 is equal to 2. 14 minus 12 is equal to 2. 12 minus 8 is equal to 2. 8 minus 6 is equal to 2. So, in first differences, they are already equal. Therefore, this is not a quadratic function because, just like what I said earlier, quadratic function have an equal second differences. Dapat sa pangalawa lang sila mag-i-equal. So, therefore, this is not a quadratic function.
Now let's proceed to page 29 of your module. So you will find learning task 3. So you need to transform the quadratic function defined by y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c into the form y is equal to a quantity x minus h squared plus k, which is the vertex form. So eto pong dalawang function natin ay itatransform natin into a vertex form. I will give you an example.
Now, let's have example in learning task 3. So, we need to transform the quadratic function defined by y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c into the form y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k, or ito po yung tinatawag natin na vertex form. So, ito po ang ating given sa number 1. We have y is equal to negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 17. So, we're going to transform this into this form. So, the first thing to do is to group the quadratic term and the linear term. So we have y is equal to negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 17. And then, we need to factor out the value of a. Factor out natin. So we have y is equal to negative 2. Then, negative 2x squared divided by negative 2 is equal to x squared. Then, positive 12x divided by negative 2 is equal to negative 6x. Then, minus 17. So, we need to make this as a perfect square. So, kailangan mahanap natin yung constant nito na ilalagay natin para maging perfect square siya. So, we have negative 2 times x squared minus 6x. So, we need to find a constant to make this as a perfect square. Minus 17. And then subtract the value of this to the constant. Now we need to complete the expression in the parentheses to make it a perfect square. So we need to get the value of the coefficient of x. So which is negative 6. So negative 6 divided by 2 is equal to negative 3. And then negative 3 will be multiplied by itself to get the number. So negative 3 times negative 3 is equal to 9. Therefore, positive 9 po ang hinahanap natin. So, we have plus 9. And then, we're going to subtract the number that we add here to the constant. But, take note that we have the value of a which is less than 1. So, we have negative 2. So, kailangan i-multiply muna natin yung 9 sa negative 2. So, positive 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. So, we have negative 17 minus negative 18. So let's simplify. Y is equal to negative 2 times x squared minus 6x plus 9. Negative 17 minus negative 18 is equal to positive 1. And then we're going to factor x squared minus 6x plus 9 into a perfect square. We have y is equal to negative 2. The square root of x squared is x. And the square root of positive 9 is positive 3 and negative 3. But since negative ang ating linear term, so we're going to use negative 3 squared plus 1. Therefore, our quadratic function is y is equal to negative 2 times x minus 3 squared plus 1. So, ito na po yung ating
Pwede rin naman tayong gumamit ng formula to transform the quadratic function defined by y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c into the form of y is equal to a quantity x minus h squared plus k. O yung tinatawag natin na vertex form.
Now let's have example number 2. We have y is equal to x squared minus 2x minus 15. So just like the first step that we did here, we're going to group the quadratic term and the linear term. So we have y is equal to x squared minus 2x minus 15. And then, since we need to factor out a and a is equal to 1, so we're not going to factor it out because any number divide or multiplied by 1 will still be the same. So, hindi na natin siya pa-factor out. So, automatic meron naman yung 1 dito. So, we have to proceed to the next step, which is completing the square. So, i-complete po natin yung square. So, we have y is equal to x squared minus 2x. And then, we need to find the value to make this as a perfect square. And then, negative 15 minus blank, or the number that we are looking. So, to find the number, we're going to get the value of b, or yung coefficient ng linear term, which is negative 2. And then, kagaya po sa ginawa natin kanina, i-divide natin siya sa 2. So, negative 2 divided by 2 is equal to negative 1. And then, multiply it by itself. Negative 1 times negative 1 is equal to positive 1. Therefore, we are looking for positive 1. So, erase na natin po ito and then plus 1 minus positive 1. So, the next step is to factor the perfect square. So, we have x squared minus 2x plus 1. The square root of x squared is x. And the square root of positive 1 is 1. But since the linear term is negative 2x, so we're going to use the negative factor. So we have negative 1 squared, then negative 15 minus 1 is negative 16. Therefore, our vertex form of y equals x squared minus 2x minus 15 is equal to y is equal to x minus 1 squared minus 16. So this is our answer.
And again, there is another way in transforming the quadratic function defined by y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c into the form of y is equal to a quantity x minus h squared plus k, or yung vertex form, gamit ang ating formula. Now, let's have the learning task 4. In learning task 4, you're going to solve the problem. Suppose that you will put a square carpet on the floor. You need a carpet with an area of x squared minus 8x plus k square meters. What will be the value of k so that it will make it a perfect square? So, ang hahanapin nyo lang dito ay yung k. Paano ba hahanapin ang value ng k? So, gabigyan ko rin kayo ng example.
Now, let's have an example in learning task 4. So, in learning task 4, you have problem that needs to be solved. So, I have here an example that is parallel to that. So, what will be the value of k such that x squared minus 4x plus k becomes a perfect square? So, hahanapin lang natin ang value ng k. So, paano natin mahahanap? So, kagaya ng ginawa natin sa learning task 3, we're going to get the value of b, or yung coefficient ng
linear term, which is negative 4. And then negative 4 will be divided by 2. Negative 4 divided by 2 is equal to negative 2. And then we are going to multiply this by itself or square it. Negative 2 squared is equal to, or negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Ulitin natin. I-divide natin sa 2 and then i-square natin. So, since the answer is 4, so the value of k is equal to 4. So, this is the answer. Or to make it a perfect square, we have x squared minus 4x plus 4. Or, the square root of x squared is x and the square root of 4 is positive 2 and negative 2. So, since negative ang ating linear term, so we're going to use the negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Negative 2 plus negative 2 is negative 4. That's why we use the negative 2 squared. So, this is, now it is already a perfect square.